The thumbnail's correct. This is a Shieldfisher Dragon deck profile. What is up, card fighters, and welcome back to the Cardfight Vanguard channel. In today's video, I'll be showcasing you guys my take on Shieldfisher Dragon after release of its support from Clash of Heroes. Now, for whatever reason, the developers must have thought about Shieldfisher Dragon because I'm aware it's a deck in premium, but they finally decided to give it a standard support. One card. And I'm not mad at this card that exists, but I was like, okay, if I was broke and I want to play Shieldfisher Dragon, I don't know why you'd want to play it, but if you want to play it, I was like, why not make a deck on him? So this is a little deck I've been testing only for 3 days. Yes, it's 3 days. I'm just going to be honest here, guys. I was not going to spend a week trying this deck out. I spent 3 days trying the deck out after the support came out, but Shieldfisher is kind of fun. You know, maybe in the future, I might spend another day or two, might play a trolling deck, but why not? With that being said, we're going to head over to camera 2 and check out this deck profile. Alright, you guys, so to get started off with the ride line, I am playing the Zorga ride line for Shieldfisher Dragon. I believe that the Zorga ride line is the best Stoicheia ride line that we have, especially for this deck. You do play an array of about 5 to 6 orders in this deck, and being able to turn that into early game card advantage, especially for Shieldfisher, is a really big deal. Our main order that we're going to be playing in the deck is also part of our win condition, and is the main win condition of the deck. So therefore, being able to use that card as a filter in the early game to draw more cards, cycle it back to your hand, and get an early game rush going becomes valuable as you go into your Shieldfisher turn prior. And now for the star of the show, the man, the myth, the legend. It is 3 copies of Shieldfisher Dragon. Alright, this is it. The man, the myth, the legend. Let's keep it nice and simple. He does nothing. This Vanguard is absolutely nothing. It's just an 18k base. However, I do think that I want to try building a deck for it because with him being an 18k base Vanguard, any long-term strategy that Stoicheia has that normally wouldn't work on a normal Vanguard can work with this guy. So therefore, the strategy that I created with him will go hand in hand with the win condition of this deck, which I believe I'll go ahead and showcase now, which is 2 copies of Nectar of Sensationalism. Now, combining Shieldfisher with Nectar of Sensationalism means that as the game goes on, we start putting more cards in our drop zone. We can get higher powered attackers onto the rear guard, apply them with Sensationalism, and make them stronger. So the strategy of this deck is to combine Shieldfisher with Nectar to create a really strong Vanguard or a rear guard that has a critical bonus on it to devastate your opponent after they burn through most of their defensive options. Hallucinatory Morpho is one of the new cards out from DBT11, and she has the following effect. Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if your drop has a Blitz order, you Soul Blast one, and she gets plus 10,000 power to the end of that battle. Auto Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, Counterblast one and bind this unit. Search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or greater Blitz order without a Regalius piece, reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. If your drop has a Blitz order, you may search a normal order instead of a Blitz order. So this is basically the main way we search our deck out for Nectar of Sensationalism or any of our other Blitz order cards that we play in the deck. She's also one of our beat 6 in the deck, being a 20k attacker from the get-go, as long as you have a Blitz order in your drop zone, which shouldn't be hard to do off your ride line or using the Blitz order itself to actually power this card up. Everything works out perfectly well in terms of being able to fetch out our win condition and having this card as early game beat stick to fetch the other cards we want. Next up, I played 3 copies of Prod Pollen Raphilius. Prod Pollen Raphilius is a 2-card plant token generator for a counterblast and 1. To activate Shieldfish, you have to call cards out that are not from the hand, so her effect to get 2 plant tokens on the board is a condition we can use to get him to attack. It's also really good in the early game as you really want to take advantage of rushing your opponent as hard as you possibly can in the early game, so on your Shieldfisher turns you can maintain pressure as well as increase the value of your Nectar of Sensationalism by the time you get to that point to use it. Moving on to grade 1s, it's pretty simple. I'm playing 2 copies of Burrow Mushroom. Now, Burrow Mushroom is another plant token generator, but he's a little bit more important because he also gives Soul. We have a lot of effects in the deck that actually use Soul, use Counterblast to make this deck work. So him being a Soul piece as well as another plant token generator means that he assists in the early game rush, also adding back to one of our resources. For my next grade 1, I'm playing 2 copies of Swell Assault. Now, Swell Assault has the following ability of Auto Rearguard Circle. When the attack this unit boosted hits a Vanguard, if it is the 3rd battle this turn or more, retire this unit and countercharge 1. So this is one of our on-hit pressure cards, which actually are very important for this deck to operate. This card retires itself off of the board so we can get a countercharge 1, so that this way we can use other effects that require CB. A lot of our other skills, such as the revival cards, as well as some of our searchers like this one and the other, like Hallucinatory Morpho and the other one to showcase, cost CB, and we want to make sure we have that resource always available to us. So again, this is another resource management card for the deck. For my next grade 1, I play 2 copies of Blessed Rain Fairy. Now, Blessed Rain Fairy is the new DBT11 support for Shieldfisher, and the only reason why I'm making this deck, he has the ability to counterblast 1, and if your Vanguard is Shieldfisher, call it back out and give it 5k. In the first turn, grade 3 turn, or in the early game, you can drop this card down as a rush target. You can start swinging with it, and then also becomes a revival piece if you block with it to activate Shieldfisher again. This way you call something out from your drop zone, which targets on Shieldfisher, so that you have another card that you can boost or attack with on the field. I will say that you can play the Maple Sisters in this deck as well. I just chose not to play both Maples simply for the fact that I wanted more power and pressure cards, and this card is just the best one to use because it gets 5k if you're on a Shieldfisher Vanguard, regardless if you ride grade 3, Persona ride, or whatever the circumstance may be for your game. For my next grade 1, and an old one that I didn't even know about until I made this deck, it is 3 copies of Lady Demolish. Now, Lady Demolish has the following effect of auto rearguard circle. When the attack this unit boosted hits a Vanguard, you may discard 5 cards from the top of your deck. This card helps mill 5 cards out so that we can set up for next sensationalism. We want to use this effect set up in the early game, just start going, so we can start seeing the pieces we want in the drop zone there so we can get things going. Once we hit 15 cards in the drop zone from guarding, soul blasting, Lady Demolish's ability, and our rear guards putting themselves from the soul to drop, from rear guard to drop, we can turn on Nectar Sensationalism and keep the match going. It's just to turbo out this effect so that this way we can hit a win condition as soon as possible, because believe me when I tell you this deck does not want to play the long game. For my next grade 1, I played 3 copies of Boo Press Stinger. Now, Boo Press Stinger is the direct searcher for the Blitz order from DBT11, which is 2 copies of the Sweet Honey Garden. This card searches this card out, which is an extremely powerful Blitz order that helps you push through a lot of defense options as well as offense options. It also becomes a 13k beat stick if you have 2 Blitz orders in the drop zone, which we will showcase later in the fight. The Sweet Honey Garden also is an insanely powerful card. Giving plus 25k to anything means that every single card here that you see that's 8k or above automatically turns into a magic number against your opponent. It's also an insane defense option as well that sometimes they don't see coming because Blitz orders aren't that common in OverDress right now, despite them being actually surprisingly powerful after trying them out with this deck. You want to play 3 and 2, this is the package you want to play because this searches out this, you can get it anywhere from the drop zone, and unlike the other Blitz orders that I see for the deck, you can actually not discard to get this one back, you have to call this out to get it back to your hand. Next, I played 4 copies of the Stoichia PGs. I'm not spending Elementaria money on this deck. Then the trigger lineup is very simple. You are playing 8 critical with Tier Knight Costas. You're playing 3 draws, 3 copies of Serene Maiden Lena. The Stoichia OT because it's cracked. 4 copies of Elegy Pixie. And then for our last order of the deck, I am playing, for my Blitz order, 1 copy of Ghost Chase. Ghost Chase actually comes in handy sometimes because it lets you bounce back this, or sometimes even this so that you can reuse them for their effects to thin the deck out and search for cards. Everything becomes insanely helpful, and it's better than the trial deck Blitz order that comes with the Magnolia trial deck. Shieldfisher is a deck that I think thrives in the long game. It also does really well in the early game if you go first. Your opponent goes Persona Ride. The Persona Ride power doesn't mean that much anymore because the 10,000 power kind of gets negated by him being at 18 because you only require maybe 10k block for everything, and we have triggers, we have intercepts, we have tokens to rush with, we have defense orders. We're essentially playing a lot of defensive options in this deck due to the Blitz orders. It's pretty insane actually. I believe that this deck definitely has room to grow. There are still options I'm exploring for this deck, but in my current testing, this has been the most successful so far. Card fighters, thank you so much for staying tuned throughout the entirety of this video. If you enjoy seeing content like this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget that notification bell so you guys are always in my newest videos coming out. With that being said, I'll catch y'all later. Check out the rest of the videos on the Prime Vanguard channel. And with that being said, peace.